Hi, everyone. Welcome to the SURG Prevention Subcommittee meeting. Thank you all for joining today. I'm going to request if folks can mute themselves unless thank you. I see that that was helpful. Asked to be called upon or raising their hands. I'm going to go ahead and go to the first agenda item, which is the call to order and roll call to establish quorum. Crystal, are you able to assist with the roll call this morning?
Yes. Senator Doniate,
Here.
Jessica Johnson,
Present.
Debbie Nadler,
Here.
Angela Nichols,
Present.
Eric Schoen.
I'm here. Good morning, everybody.
Great. We have a full subcommittee.
Wonderful news. Thank you so much. Let's move on to agenda item number 2, which is our first period of public comment. Crystal, do you mind reading this out for us to ensure we're in compliance this morning?
Sure. Public comment will be received via Zoom by raising your hand or unmuting yourself when asked for public comment. Public comment shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. This is a period devoted to comments by the general public, if any, and discussion of those comments. No action may be taken upon a matter raised during a period devoted to comments by the general public until the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda item as an item upon which action may be taken pursuant to NRS 241.020. If you're dialing from a telephone, dial 253-205-0468. When prompted, enter the meeting ID 825-0031-7472. Press *6 so the host can prompt you to unmute. Additionally, please do not use the chat for anything other than technical issues because the content is not necessarily available to the general public, which is a requirement of the open meeting law.
Thank you so much, Crystal. I'm wondering if we have anyone for public comment this morning.
Chair Johnson, I don't see any hands raised or anybody coming off of mute at this time.
Okay, thank you. Hold for just one more second, and then we'll move to agenda item number 3. All right, thank you. Let's move on to agenda item number 3, which is to review and approve the minutes from the September 4th, 2024 Prevention Subcommittee meeting. Those were sent out to subcommittee members and also posted on the website. I'll give everyone a chance to review and then would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
Jessica, this is Eric. I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Debbie Nadler, for the record, I'll second. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nadler. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions? All right, motion carries. Let's move on to agenda item number 4, where we will finalize and adopt the recommendations from the Prevention Subcommittee. So using the guidance provided by the SURG during the October meeting, our subcommittee will discuss any prevention or harm reduction recommendations that need to be revised. And then we'll vote on adopting the recommendations. And then in agenda item number 5, committee members will be individually asked to rank these recommendations. We'll take a brief pause after the adoption for everyone to prepare for ranking the adopted recommendations. Any questions before we get started? All right, wonderful. So we'll go through the prevention recommendations and then we'll go through the harm reduction recommendations. So our first recommendation is to recommend that DHHS or a subsidiary include in their governor's budget request a request to double the amount of investment in SAPTA primary prevention programming for ages 0 to 24 and review allocations annually, and that this funding should not be at the expense of existing programming. There were no suggested revisions at the SURG meeting, although it was noted by the division that the budgets were due to the governor's office on August 31st. So our committee didn't have any recommendations from the larger SURG. I don't know if we want to make any revisions at this time, or we can move on to to the prevention subcommittee recommendation number 2.
Yeah, Jessica, I'm comfortable moving on. This is Eric for the record.
Thanks, Eric.
Jessica, Debbie Nadler for the record. Since it was due by August 31st, is this something that's going to go through for next year for August 31st? Or for when they meet again in February, March, or?
Great question. Senator Duniate or others have any additional thoughts on these particular budgets? Or I imagine it might have to be delayed until the next biennium, unfortunately. I'm seeing Senator Duniate nod his head.
Yeah, that's correct. They have so in terms of the process, the departments have already submitted their recommendations. The governor does not release that until a few weeks from now. So this process already has been completed. So this would more than likely be a recommendation for the next biennium.
Thank you for the clarification.
Jessica, I'm sorry for the interruption. So does that mean 2 years from now, not the one coming up, or 2 year? I forget, they meet every other year, right?
So that's correct. So essentially, the departments make their recommendations as to what they would like to allocate. Then the governor puts his budget proposal, and then the legislature either confirms or modifies it. So that's essentially the process that we're walking into ahead of the legislative session. So this would essentially recommend either the governor to make those changes before it becomes public, or for the next biennium as well, whichever ones you guys phrase it as. So you can change it to make modifications for the legislature to make this increase, or for the governor to have it as part of his proposal. I mean, you could go either way.
So what would be our best go-to for making it come sooner as opposed to later? I mean, I don't think 2 years from now, I can't even imagine what our state is going to look like with this epidemic. So what's the fastest process for getting this approved? Is there one?
Chair, if I may, I think you just, in this process, I think just how the recommendation is written is probably the best thing that you can do, just because you can point back at it for the legislators to look at and review, and have as a point of discussion, if that makes sense. So I think it's fine as is.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, just to add to that, I think it just sort of boldly sets a new floor, a new expectation for what the floor should be, right? Instead of 12 million, we're really trying to be bold and say we're so far behind, we need a significant investment to help catch up and try to get up to speed. So I would think this would hopefully, well, I don't know, I would hope it would have some influence on the upcoming legislative discussions about funding levels and what might be considered.
Thank you all for the discussion, and Senator Duniate for weighing in with your expertise and experience on this framing. I appreciate it. There's no further discussion. I'm going to move to PS number 2. So this one would create a bill draft request to amend the NRS with the 15% set aside for tobacco control and prevention funds from the fund for Healthy Nevada, distributed using a local lead agencies model to reach $2 per capita, recommended funding goal from the Nevada Tobacco Control and Smoke-Free Coalition and subject matter experts. When this was presented at the full surge, there were no suggested revisions. There's no further discussion. I'll move to our recommendation number 3. PS3 is to require the State Office of Medicaid to develop a state plan amendment to implement changes to support the recommendation requesting rates and billing standards for CHWs and peers be increased to align with the national average and CMS standard. Again, when this was presented at the larger surge meeting, there were no suggested revisions. If there's nothing additional here, I'll move to PS number 4. This one is similar to PS2, but for a different area of emphasis. This would create a bill draft request to allocate a 15% set aside of cannabis retail funds to be distributed using a local lead agencies model, again, to reach the $2 per capita, which is a recommended funding goal from the Tobacco Control and Smoke-Free Coalition and other subject matter experts. No suggested revisions were received from the full surge. However, Ms. Nadler suggested a national subject matter expert, Dr. Lev, to present at today's meeting to help us further refine this. Unfortunately, she was unavailable for this meeting, but we'll work with staff in as we set our meetings for 2025 to ensure that we can find a time that aligns with Dr. Lev coming in to present, to lend additional feedback on this particular recommendation. If there's no additional feedback on these prevention recommendations, I'll move to the harm reduction recommendations. Great, thank you, Crystal. So for the harm reduction recommendations, these again are just reviewing any suggested revisions from the October 9th surge meeting. Harm reduction 1 would establish a statewide initiative for community drug checking that incorporates qualitative and quantitative drug checking and includes the following parameters outlined here in bullet points. There were no suggested revisions to this recommendation. All right, harm reduction item number 2 looks to provide for costs for evidence-based harm reduction supplies for shipping and travel costs for pickup and use sharp products to be returned for destruction. Increasing advertising about shipping programs and collaborating with local lead agencies, supporting local harm reduction efforts. Just summarizing a little bit what is on here on the screen, but this is in front of you all for any additional feedback. When this was presented to the full surge, there were no suggested revisions. I'll move to harm reduction recommendation number 3, which is to recommend that DHHS develop an annual or biannual saturation and distribution plan for overdose reversal medication. And then to utilize opioid settlement dollars to designate a baseline level of identification and overdose reversal medication for the next 10 years in Nevada, which should be based on the naloxone saturation plan, and to create a supply of stable, sustainable overdose reversal medications throughout the state. Again, no suggested revisions from the larger surge on this recommendation. I'll move to number 4. This is to recommend a bill draft request to support legislation that will help to fund / establish a statewide association for peers, and 2, better define supervision requirements for peers under the age of 18. There were no suggested revisions from the larger SURG on this. The last harm reduction recommendation is for consideration. I think we had some discussion at our last meeting, but we did not vote to approve this one yet. Did some additional homework on this recommendation, and we received some feedback that I think has been shared out with the committee, but I'll summarize briefly. So this was to create a bill draft request at the legislature to change the Nevada paraphernalia definition as it relates to smoking supplies, utilizing Maine or Colorado as examples. When this was presented to the larger SURG, there were no suggested revisions. Our subcommittee had continued to workshop this recommendation with a variety of interested parties. Myself as chair and staff reached out to the Nevada Attorneys for Criminal Justice, to NAJC, the Nevada Attorneys for Criminal Justice, to the Nevada District Attorneys Association, and via our SURG SME to Nevada Sheriffs and Chiefs. So I'll just summarize briefly some of the feedback that was received. The Nevada Attorney Generals for Criminal Justice shared a letter in favor of this recommendation with a slight revision. This letter has been posted with the meeting material. Their suggestion was that instead of entirely removing Section K from the bill, which is what this original recommendation had proposed, it would be relocated to a new section that explicitly states that the items listed in Section K are no longer to be considered, quote, drug paraphernalia, and that this approach would be similar to how fentanyl test strips and testing products are currently defined and exempted in the statute. In this letter, pages 2 and 3 for the proposed changes include adding a clear definition for smoking supplies, which would, by their definition, quote, help avoid potential legal pitfalls and ensure that legislative intent is upheld. I received some questions from the Sheriffs and Chiefs Association via our SURG SME, Christine Payson. When SEI staff followed up in late October, Sheriffs and Chiefs had no additional feedback on this recommendation. And then the Nevada District Attorneys Association through DA Shields shared that they would be in opposition as currently written, and shared that they would provide additional feedback and or recommended changes that might move them either to neutral or to support. So far, we have not received any additional feedback on that recommendation. I'll open this up for discussion from the committee to see if the committee would recommend including the Nevada Attorneys for Criminal Justice recommended language changes or any additional feedback for consideration.
Hey Jessica, this is Eric. I really liked the recommendations in that letter. I thought it made it much clearer, and so I would be in favor of adopting those revisions.
Thank you, Mr. Schoen. Any additional discussion from committee members?
Chair, this is Senator Doniate. I don't know if I can support this potential bill draft request. I don't feel comfortable proceeding forward just because of the opposition that could exist, specifically for such a touchy subject. So I would just request, I think our other proposals are bipartisan and can get support. I would hate for something that hasn't been well vetted to make it out of this. So for that reason, I don't think I could support this.
Thank you, Senator Doniate. Is your recommendation then to keep this on the table and continuing refining in 2025 with additional information?
Thank you. I don't support this specific bill draft request proceeding in general. I think we should focus on the other ones. That would be my recommendation. But if the committee prefers, then you can take you can choose to table it, but it just doesn't change my perspective, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Jessica, Debbie Nadler, for the record, I agree with Senator on that wholeheartedly. I agree.
Okay. Thank you for your feedback on this. So it sounds like that this particular item will not move forward. We'd need to take a vote on that. So I'll call for a motion in a moment with as written. So as revised, I guess it would be omitted from the recommendations that we'll rank at the next agenda item. So I'll open the floor for a motion to remove this from our SURG recommendations.
So move.
I second. Debbie
All right.
Nadler.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Staff, SEI staff, before we move to agenda item number 5, do you recommend a short break so committee members can look through the approved recommendations and identify how they would like to rank them?
Yes, Crystal Duarte for the record. During this short break, if members could look at the recommendations, you're going to rank them separately. So the prevention recommendations, you'll rank those. One is your top recommendation. The higher number would be your last recommendation, and then do the same for harm reduction. So you're going to just work independently on that, and we will record your rankings in a separate sheet.
Thank you.
And
Go ahead.
Can I clarify the process? Are we going to do this by voice ranking? So we'll go in turn, and each of us will indicate our ranking choices?
Yes.
Great question.
Yes, you'll verbally indicate your ranking choices, and you'll see that recorded on an Excel screen. And then Mary or actually Kim, I think, will read back to make sure we got your ranking correct. And so please be making sure that we have those, because we're going to be dealing with, recommendation 1, I vote number 2. And so it can get a little bit confusing.
Yep.
So we want to make sure we get it right. So you'll take this time by yourself and record your rankings for prevention and harm reduction. Then Chair Johnson will call on someone. You will verbally let us know what those rankings are, and you'll confirm them, and then we'll move on to the next person.
Thank you for that clarification. Crystal, you've done a couple of these with other committees. How much time has been appropriate for other groups?
Well, you all are special and have more recommendations. So we did about 5 minutes of a break for the 5 recommendations we had in the response subcommittee. So I would say between 5 and 10 minutes is probably appropriate for this group.
All right. I'll put 5 minutes, and then I'll check back in and see if people are in need of additional 5. So by my clock, that puts us back at 11:20. I'll say 11:30 for the and we'll check back in.
Hey, Jessica, one other point of clarification. So we have 4 recommendations in prevention and 4 in harm reduction, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Jessica, Debbie Nadler, I'm sorry to bother you. I can't go back and print out what they are to read them back to you. We have to say, number 1, read out I can't find them. Can you send them back to me? So, I mean, I pretty much have them in my head, but.
Yeah, this is Crystal Duarte for the record. That's no problem, Ms. Nadler. We can forward you the email from Emma.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll be back at 11:30. Hi, all. Checking back in at 11:30. I'm going to allow 5 more minutes at the request of staff. So we'll come back at 11:35. Thank you. It is 11:35. I'm going to resume this meeting in order to complete the rankings. I'm hopeful that that intermission allowed for enough time for committee members to prepare their ranking recommendations. So we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 5, which is rank recommendations. As staff are pulling up the Excel spreadsheet, I just wanted to review how this is going to work. So using a formula in Excel that weighs each ranking based on relative priority. 1 will be 8 points, 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, 5, and 5, 4 points. Each member will verbally provide their ranking when asked to do so. And as you do so, the SEI staff will enter the ranking into the Excel spreadsheet. And then at the end, we will all call for a vote to move the recommendations forward as ranked. All right. Thank you, Kim. So we'll start with Senator Dunyate to rank first the prevention and then the harm reduction recommendations. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I have them. So the prevention ones I have first. So from top to least, I have PS3, PS1, PS2, and then PS4. And then for the harm reduction ones, I have HR3, HR1, HR4, HR3. Or I think it's sorry, HR3, HR1, HR4, HR2.
Right, and I'm just going to read these back to make sure that I entered it correctly. So for the prevention recommendations, I have it ranked in this order from top ranking to lowest ranking: 3, 1, 2, 4. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And then for harm reduction, I have it in, again, order from highest ranked to lowest ranked: 3, 1, 4, 2.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Senator Dunyate. Next, I'll call on myself to go through. So for PS1, I'm going to go down the line. Is that okay?
Yes.
Kim? All right. So for PS1, I have that as number 2. For PS2, I have that as number 1. For PS3, I have that as number 4. And for PS4, I have that as number 3.
Does this look correct as I have it on the screen?
Yes, that's correct.
Great.
All right. For the harm reduction ones, for harm reduction 1, I have that as number 2. For harm reduction 2, I have that as number 3. For harm reduction 3, I have that as number 1. And for harm reduction 4, I have that as number 4.
Right. Does this look correct as I have it on the screen?
Yes, that's correct.
Right.
Thank you. Next is Debbie Nadler.
Oh, I know you were gonna say me next. Okay, so I think I'm doing this right. So I'm gonna do it how Jessica did, if that's okay.
Yes.
So for PS1, I have that as number 1. For PS2, I have that as number 4. For PS3, I have that as number 3. And for PS4, I have that as number 2.
Thank you, Ms. Nadler. And can I check, can you see the screen, or would you like me to read it back to you verbally?
Oh, let me look. Hold on. Okay. Debbie, 1, 4, 3. Sorry. Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, and then for HR 1, I have that as number 2. For HR 2, I have that as number 3. For HR 3, I have that as number 1. And HR 4, number 4. I think it's the same as Jessica's, actually.
And can you see the screen? Does this look correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nadler. I'll call on Angela Nichols next to provide her ranking.
Hello, Angela Nichols for the record. So for PS number 1, I have 1. PS 2, I have 2. PS 3, I have 4. And PS 4, I have 3.
Thank you. And are you able to see the screen, and does this look correct? I can also read it out verbally.
Yes, I am able to see the screen, and yes, it looks correct.
Thank you.
For HR 1, I have 3. HR 2, I have 4. HR 3, I have 1. HR 4, I have 2.
And does this look correct?
It does.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last but certainly not least is Vice Chair Schoen.
So I want to say at the outset, this is a bit like asking me to pick my favorite child. These are all really important, I think. So I think the distance between first, second, third, and fourth may not be as great as it seems. I just want to say that at the outset. With that being said, I had PS1 ranked as number 1. I had PS2 ranked as number 3. I had PS3 ranked as number 2. And I had PS4 ranked as number 4.
And does this look correct?
It sure does, yes.
Thank you.
And then honestly, this is going to be pretty easy for you because I had these ranked 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just check that those came in. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, committee members, for providing clear and prompt recommendations for this process. At this time, will call for a vote to move the recommendations forward into the SURG final report as currently ranked. So happy to review those if I can pause the
So
call.
can we see I can see the prevention ones right now because we have those up. Can we see the HR ones?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll move that motion off the floor and open for further discussion. So, Dr. Hopkinson, can you walk us through what final rankings are for the prevention and harm reduction based on the weighting for the group?
Absolutely. So on the prevention recommendations, it is ranked actually in order as you have it. So the first highest ranked is PS1. The second highest ranked is PS2. The third is PS3 and the fourth is PS4.
Thank you. And for the harm reduction recommendations?
For harm reduction, the highest ranked is HR 3. The second is HR 1. The third is HR 2. And the fourth is HR 4.
Thank you. I appreciate the summary for the committee. At this time, I'll open the floor for a motion to move the recommendations forward as ranked into the full SURG report and for the December meeting.
Debbie Nadler, so moved.
Thank you, Ms. Nadler. Do I have a second?
This is Eric. I would second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Schoen. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? And any abstentions? All right, these rankings will move forward into the final subcommittee meeting, or sorry, not subcommittee, full surge prevention meeting in December. Lots happening in December. With that, we'll move on to agenda item number 6. This is just to determine who a presentation of the prevention subcommittee recommendations for the December surge meeting. Making sure that we have a plan for that particular presentation. Historically, that's something I've done as the chair, with subcommittee members able to add additional information or answer any questions. Is that a structure that works for committee members at this juncture, or is there any alternative strategy that you'd recommend?
Jessica, this is Eric. I am super comfortable with that because you are such a strong communicator and presenter. And so if you are comfortable being the point person on that, and we just add whatever, color we think is helpful, then I think that's a great plan.
Thank you, Mr. Schoen. Appreciate that feedback.
Debbie Nadler, I agree with Eric.
Thank you both. All right. I'll work with the SEI team just to ensure we have any additional information or everything gathered in advance of the 11th meeting to ensure we're stewarding along these recommendations appropriately. All right, let's move on to agenda item number 7. This is an opportunity for us to review the 2025 subcommittee membership and schedule. So in January, the SURG will reselect subcommittee members and a vice chair for the full SURG. And members will need to be reappointed. So one member of the Senate who's appointed by the Senate Majority Leader. So for this committee, Senator Dunyate and myself are the two who are up for reappointment on January 1st, 2025. I'll also interested in who would love to hear who is interested in staying on the prevention subcommittee, or if anyone is interested in working on another subcommittee. Happy to open that discussion now.
Debbie Nadler, for the record, I'd like to stay on the prevention subcommittee.
Thank you, Debbie.
Hi, Chair. This is Senator Dunyate. Just wanted a point of reference that I know we repeated this last time. Obviously, it'll be difficult for me to attend some of the meetings when I'm in session. So I know that we have as guidance based on the last time that we did this, but just wanted to make sure that you know.
Yes, thank you, Senator Dunyate. Your leadership on this committee will be missed while you're leading over in the Senate during the legislative session, but really appreciate your work on both fronts.
I would echo Eric for the record. I would echo Debbie's comments. I think what's exciting about being on the prevention/harm reduction subcommittee is that I think all the committees are important, and it's probably just feeling like, this is my home team. So I'm rooting for the home team, but I feel like we are in the position in some ways where we can make the most change in terms of reimagining workforce development and resource allocation. I think if we can raise the profile of what prevention can offer and the impact it can make, I think it has the potential for the deepest and broadest impact. So I would like to remain on the prevention subcommittee if it's up to me. It may not be, but if it's up to me.
I believe it is, so that's great news. Thank you, Mr. Schoen. I appreciate that feedback. I also am interested in staying on the prevention subcommittee. Member Nichols, do you have any input at this time on if you'd like to stay on the prevention subcommittee?
Yes, I'd be interested in staying.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I also wanted to, as just a reminder, the Attorney General does have a bill draft request to broaden membership on the surge, which will likely occur if passed in 2026. They will likely onboard members upon appointment and then have them join in the new year of 2026. This would also require amending the surge bylaws to include new roles in the membership. So that is part of the reason that it does need to go through a BDR process. We've reviewed these in the larger surge, but just for the record, these potentially include a member of the general public, someone from fire and or EMS, someone from family services / foster care, the director of the Department of Indigenous Defense Services or designee, and the Nevada District Attorney Association. So just wanted to make sure members were aware of that BDR. Additionally, stay tuned for a schedule for the 2025 meetings. Deanna Lyons will be reaching out to schedule the meetings for this subcommittee, and we'll be sure to try to identify a time where the subject matter expert, Dr. Lev, can come on and present additional information. Any other discussion on this membership and schedule? All right. Hearing none, I'm going to move to agenda item number 8, which is our second period of public comment. Crystal summarized these public comment details earlier in the meeting, but opening the floor now for public comment. Crystal, do we have anybody for public comment?
I do see one hand raised from Elise Monroy.
Ms. Monroe, you've been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Hello, committee. My name is Elise Monroy, and I'm a member of the ACRN, which is the Advisory Committee for a Resilient Nevada that oversees or guides the state in their spending of the opioid settlement dollars. So I wanted to provide a quick public comment related to the pulling of the recommendation to revise Nevada's paraphernalia laws. Nevada is receiving opioid settlement dollars to remediate the harms of inappropriate prescribing and to further prevent overdose deaths in Nevada. The CDC has reported that in the last 2 years, the route of drug use involving overdose death has changed from injection to smoking. In looking at data from the Clark County Opioid Task Force, 50% of deaths reviewed had high percentages of risk factors for smoking fentanyl. Because smoking implements are listed as paraphernalia in Nevada's statute, opioid settlement dollars cannot be expended on safe smoking implements. This means that Nevada's opioid settlement dollars are not going to be able to be used in a way to address drug use as it's happening in Nevada. Continuing to keep smoking implements as drug paraphernalia while test strips and syringes have been removed keeps our state in a position where we cannot use this once-in-a-lifetime funding for its intended use to further prevent overdose deaths in Nevada. I would encourage the full SURG committee to reconsider the inclusion of this recommendation in its full report, so the state can be in a better position to effectively use opioid settlement dollars to prevent opioid deaths. Thank you. Or overdose deaths. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Ms. Duarte, do we have any additional folks for public comment?
I do not see any hands raised or anybody coming off of mute at this time.
All right. Thank you for that. With that, we'll move on to agenda item number 9, which is adjournment. Appreciate you all being here today and the speed with which we addressed the rankings, and I'll look forward to seeing everyone at the full SURG committee meeting on the 11th. Thank you, and thank you to staff.
Yep,
Take
take care,
care.
everybody.
Thank you. Take care.